Hey guys, it's Gandalf here for another weekly market update. This one's going to be a pretty short update because last week was a pretty boring week, frankly, in everything. In stocks, indices, we threatened to go lower, but it's quickly bought up on the Friday close, and we kind of closed pretty same place pretty much as we opened the week. So it was a pretty nothing week in stocks. And also crypto, we continued to trade the range we were trading in the week before. So really not much has happened. But maybe some of my thinking of what potentially is happening may have changed a little bit. So if we take a look first at the market indices, we can see that we've been. This is the chart from last week. We're kind of riding this uptrend, but it's not. I'd say it's in NQ. It's more of a kind of range bound uptrend. So we're seeing lots of touches of this parallel channel in red. We're seeing touches on either side, right? So big steep declines, big inclines, big steep decline. Um, so we're pretty range bound. What is noticeable though with this is that we are reducing momentum. The momentum is getting weaker. These we're struggling to hit the top of this channel here, and this channel is kind of closing in on price. There was a potential short setup that I saw last week, so we kind of built this little wedge structure. We broke down from it. We retested it, and it was around the 618 retracement of that first impulse downwards. So this was a potential area to short. It actually looked good on Thursday, but squeezed on Friday. A lot of shorts had to cover. Shorts that got in here were started to cover when it looked like prices were going to bounce. Um, so I think it's quite likely this week that this continues to squeeze higher. It looks like we've trapped a bunch of shorts here, and we're going to squeeze them. But the problem is squeezing shorts is not enough to sustain a significant breakout, say breakout of this trend line. That it might take us to all-time highs. So I do think there's potential this week that we may see a touch to new all-time highs in NQ, a touch of this trend line, and if you look at ES, um, we're likely going to, and in ES there is also a similar type parallel trend, but a bit more aggressive to the upside though. So with ES, we may actually look to, and let me just clean up the chart a little bit here. We may actually go and touch this upper trend line, 4,300 area potentially, and there's a kind of less steep trend line here building as well. So maybe this 4,300 area. So I do think the early part of this week we're going to squeeze some shorts. We closed the week extremely bullish on both NQ and the tech heavy Nasdaq. So some nice closes. It's very likely we're going to continue this. We broke past the GP to hit some resistances, so expect that. So if you're in some longs, I think you might be looking good the first part of the week. But in all honesty, I didn't. I told you last week this was a good short setup, and I did take some puts here. I had to close at just a small loss, but kind of break even when I saw prices got back to my entry. So I got out of the puts. When we get up here, I'm going to try again. I'm going to try one more time to try and short the top of this resistant trend line. And like I said, I do think the market is gearing towards somewhat of a pretty aggressive sell-off, and I think we can make this move higher, make a real fast move back to this trend line, attempt a little bounce here, find no buyers, and then we quickly get down to some more supportive prices. I do think an aggressive downward movement is imminent. It's just a question of when to me, and I'm going to look to try and catch that trade. Um, I'm still holding stocks, still we still got the long-term portfolio here that I went through in a separate video. We actually had a pretty nice bounce in the portfolio, and actually some of these names had some pretty massive bounces. Look at STEM. We have a big position in this. We bought around these price areas, low 20s. Um, we saw that price area break down. I had a lot of confidence in this name, so no panic here. Massive V reversal, and now we're in big profits, looking at hitting some mid 30s target areas and potentially higher. This is an interesting name. PaySafe saw a decent bounce, and a lot of these names look quite good actually. So happy in the stocks that we own. They're looking good, so I'm happy to continue riding them. I would say, I think it's this when we get up this area, and I'm going to take some puts. It's really to hedge that portfolio. So that's what I'm looking to do. I'm trying to minimize at high risk reward areas. You don't just try and short a raging, freight train stock market that's going higher. You got to be very careful when you do that. I think if we head to this resistant trend line, I think it's a pretty nice risk reward setup here. We might get a downward movement. And once that happens, we put our stops just above this resistant trend line so that we minimize our potential loss. So when we get there, we buy puts. If it gets up here, we stop out. As simple as that. So that's going to be the hedge trade I'm looking for in stocks. Let's just take a look at crypto. I told you a couple of weeks ago, we found a bottom here. We pulled back to 2 Fibonacci levels, and that to me is a pretty significant indication that a range is about to build, and we've had that range. Actually, last week we saw this triangle structure play out. Something I posted it in the group. I've seen this for crypto. They love to fake out triangles, so we fake out, broke back to the bottom of the triangle, and then we'll probably go back to the mean, and then we'll actually find where the real direction of crypto is going. But they love to, especially new traders in crypto, they love to build these triangles and then completely fake out on the break of these symmetric triangles. So don't look at these triangles too much. Just have a look at the structure. It's still uptrend, and this looks like a deep pullback, but the uptrend is still not. The long-term weekly uptrend is still not broken until really we break down these levels. So yeah, it's still on a knife edge. My bias. I've highlighted this 42 to 44k area as the first place I expect price to test before maybe pulling back before we head back to the 618. And my anticipation is we do something like that. We build a longer term triangle structure is what I'm thinking we're about to build here. That doesn't mean we don't, look, there's a lot of bulls that came in here, probably a lot of stops here. So there's possibility that we could liquidate some of those before we head up there. That's possible. If you're bearish, I just can't see us getting down here, honestly. And I think any move down lower, if we get anywhere near 30k, anywhere near 28k as well, I think it'll be a huge trap, and you'll see something, pretty big reversal when we get there. So that's what I think. I still think that's unlikely. I don't even think that's going to happen. I think it's a possibility. But what I still think likely is that we're going to build some support here and head back to resistance, head back to the 618, reject the 618, build some support again in these price areas, and then start to look to break out of that downtrend that we've built. So that's still where I think the likeliest direction for price is. But just got to be cautious. There's still potential. There's a lot of leverage still in the market. Remember, crypto is a highly leveraged market. Market makers are always trying to get that liquidity, and the liquidity comes from stop losses from all this leverage. They have mandatory stops around here. So there's a couple of ways that you can deleverage a market. One is a big whoosh down followed by a V reversal. You get rid of all the leverage there. It's quick and fast. But another way of deleveraging a market is actually by price doing nothing, by price simply ranging here for a long time, maybe grinding higher, doing that. You know, when you have people that are highly leveraged, there's two ways you can kill them: by time because of the amount they're paying to have that leverage, or by stop losses. And both of these options, this option and this kind of grind and price doing nothing with very low volatility, is a second way you can actually get rid of leverage in the market. And it's going to be one of those two options. But I still don't think price gets anywhere down here in the low 20Ks. And if you're hoping for that, I think it's unlikely. And if that does happen, I think there's, we have to reevaluate everything to do with crypto and Bitcoin and the scenario that we're looking at. So I'm in some nice alts. Solana has made a big bounce. I'm liking this one. I bought the lows, took some profits up here as well. I'm holding a bag for the long term as well. Had some nice bounces in Atom. There's still more to go here. I quite like the look of Ripple, actually. I think it's building a nice bottoming structure here. And I just feel like we're building this kind of wedge structure that looks quite nice, and there's potential that this could continue to coil before heading higher and heading to some resistance. So yeah, I still think crypto's my sentiment's still the same. I think we're bottoming here. It can bottom in a number of different ways, but it's not the time to be overly bearish, I think, in the market. And that's it for this week. So a bit of a shorter update. And yeah, stay safe trading, and speak to you guys next week.